Good morning, I'm Jon Thelen. Today on Fish Ed. I had to shift gears. I was planning on being on big water today, and I'm not going to be. The wind's blowing. So what I did is I just picked a smaller lake, and picked a lake that I know has a decent walleye population in it, but I also picked a lake that I knew I could fish with this big northwest blow. And I'll tell you what, I haven't been here in a couple years, but I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to find a couple fish, and we'll talk throughout the day about how to find them on these smaller bodies of water. Stay right where you're at. Fish Ed's coming up. There's one. Yeah, he's still there, got him. Right out here as I went a little bit deeper. I was having a hard time there getting bit. And one of the things I did there is I just slid out here a little bit deeper, and part of it might be the fact, look around, I mean the sun's out, the wind's down the wind's not down, but what I'm saying is it's down versus what it was yesterday, and these fish might have slid off a little bit. Now I gotta be out here where I'm at right now. This is a big walleye to start the day. I gotta be where I'm at. There's no way I could fish the big water that I was thinking about fishing today, because it would just be too rough. So we picked a smaller lake here, and when you do this, when you pick a smaller lake, look at that eye. What a great way to start the day. What an awesome fish. But when you pick a smaller lake like this, you really gotta change your tactics a little bit. Right now, if I was fishing the big water I was planning on today, I'd be fishing, number one, a lot deeper. Number two, I'd probably be fishing a little bit different style, because those fish have already started to move. In the spring months, a lot of times a misnomer is that lakes like I'm on right now, smaller lakes, let me get this guy back in the water. But the smaller lakes like this right here, and I'm gonna spot lock here while we talk about this, is that they warm up quicker, and that all of a sudden the fish move deep faster. And that's not necessarily always the case. A lot of times what happens is on our bigger bodies of water, we don't have as much depth, okay? You're not as spring fed. You look at a Mille Lacs, a Winnebagoche, some of these other bodies of water, they'll actually warm up faster than some of these deep, small lakes that are spring fed. And what happens is that'll sometimes throw behind that bite a little bit. So as much as you're tempted to be out deep, and I see some boats out deep this morning, and there might be a few fish out there. I'll tell you that a lot of times you find fish closer to shorelines, like where I'm fishing right here, in these periods. You know, I'm 61 degrees right now. I'm in the first week of June. I'm in that time frame where you're starting to think about going deep on bigger bodies of water. But on smaller, deep bodies of water like this one, a lot of times the locations are better closer to shore. We'll talk more about those locations, but I want to get back into water, because once you get one and you start figuring them out, a lot of times all of a sudden you can get after a bunch of them. There he is, just nipped at it. Yep, got him. Right on the edge of this rock pile. What do we got? Well, look at this. Look at this. It's a big crop. You know, I mean, this is kind of one of those deals too, where it's that time of the year where you're going to get a whole variety of fish on these spots. And look at that. That's a giant crappie. What an awesome fish. It just goes to show you, you know, big fish, like big crappies like this one, they're willing to eat exactly what you're fishing walleyes with. Look at that. What an awesome fish. But he's just set up on the same stuff. And I'll tell you a little bit about this location here. Let's get this guy out of here and let me explain this location a little bit, because it's really actually pretty simple. All I'm doing is picking those rock piles that are just off of shore. There's a few guys out here a little bit deeper. There's a few guys out there in the middle, but I don't believe those fish are super aggressive out there yet, because this water's still fairly cold. I mean, I've been on some big water already this year that's reaching into the mid 60s, and we're 62 degrees. When we started this morning, it was about 61. So it's just starting to climb a little bit, even here in this shallow area. So one of the things I'll tell you want to do is start on these first structures off of shore. And you know, the other thing about those is when you look at it on these small lakes, for one reason or another, and maybe it's because the water's cooler with some of these different springs in certain areas, but a lot of times these rock piles will hold fish all year. I mean, they don't necessarily only hold fish in the spring. There's times these shallow piles, these shallow rock piles, as long as there's deep water adjacent, and there is right out here, that they'll hold fish right into June and July. And you know, we're early June right now, and there's plenty of fish right here. The other thing I'll tell you that I think is really important about the one we're on today that's helping us immensely is this one's got two things. It's got rocks, and I can see those rocks on that down imaging. I mean, it's plain as day. You can see them on your regular sonar too. But here's the thing, there's also some weeds in there. Every now and then I'm pulling up some weeds. So as I'm flipping back and forth through colors, a lot of times I'm also just reeling up and stripping weeds off of my bait. And you can feel it when you're fishing with a super line. All of a sudden it just gets a little bit heavier. But I think that can make a big difference too, having that combination of rocks and weeds, because it gives these fish a little bit more reason to hang around, because the bait's got a little more reason to hang around. There's more hiding places. There he is. That's the fish I saw right there. I saw this fish, and all I was doing, I was just tying on a little bit heavier jig. I slid out here a little deeper, and I just wanted to go to a little heavier jig, and I saw this fish, so I figured I'd just flip out back behind the boat, see if I had a chance to get this guy yet. And I did. It was that simple. I mean, it was almost like when we bobber fish and throw back over the back. Well, I saw this fish laying back here, and I figured, let's just go back there after him. Nice walleye. Wow, he's all tuned up. Look at this. Wow. Look at that. What a great fish. But that right there is a great example of just working your way around a structure. But when you see a fish, flip back to him. I mean, that right there. Look at that, man. You want to talk about a chunky walleye. Look at that thing. That thing is just a chunk. And he inhaled that jig and shiner, I'll tell you. I want to show you what I'm using here real quick. Let me get this guy unhooked. And you know, I'm going to show you something else too here in just a second. I've been flipping through a lot of colors trying to get fish to bite today. And I'll tell you, this isn't the ideal situation. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I was kind of hoping to fish bigger water today, but the wind's blowing pretty hard. So I've just tucked myself up in the northeast corner of a small lake. But when you talk about colors and different things I'm doing, I want to show you something. There's a jig hanging on my line right now. And then there's all those jigs in my hand, okay? Here's the deal. I'm making a lot of changes. I'm changing through a lot of colors, and I've actually been changing sizes too. What this is the Lindy Live Bait Jig, and a couple things about it. Clean line tie-eye every single time. You don't ever get a dig paint out of it. Short shank, wide gap hook. I'll tell you, for minnow fishing, I don't think there's a better jig out there. I mean, you look at what we're doing today, I'm not missing fish. I'm catching the fish that bite, and it's because we got that wider gap hook and that short shank hook. I mean, it's just built to do what we're doing. It's built to pull minnows around. I don't care if it's shiners, fatheads, whatever it may be. With this Lindy Live Bait Jig, you know, I mean, it's pretty well automatic for me every single day. There's one. Got him. Another one on the screen right there. Just kind of slid south of everything here a little bit. A little quiet up there. I made this color change. That didn't, you know, snap anything really quick, but I just kind of kept working my way to the south side of this reef. And this walleye, oh geez, look at that. He's all wound up. Come here, buddy. This walleye saw it. Snapped it. Man, I'll tell you, what a day, what a fun day of fishing it's been. You know, I know we get really hung up talking about all the different big water walleyes out there, you know, whether it's over in Wisconsin on Winnebago or Minnesota, you know, any of those big 7, you know, Mille Lacs, Lake of the Woods, Vermilion. Walleyes like that one right there, they're all over in these small lakes. I mean, this is really a pretty simple thing to find. You get a day like today, it looks awful nice right here, but if you're out on big water, it's going to be awfully hard to fish. This is easy to fish, and you know what? There's still fish to be caught even in these small lakes, and you know what? It's been a peaceful, fun day out here. I'm not fighting big wind. I'm not all soaking wet. It's been absolutely awesome. Get out and chase down one of these small lakes next time the wind's blowing. Don't stay in, don't go out and try to fight it. Just go find one of these lakes and I'll tell you what, there's a lot of walleyes to be had.